Oh hi. Gambia, the state semi-enclave in the Western Africa, is the smallest state in a continental part of Africa. In the north, the east and the south borders on Senegal, in the west has the small coastline of the Atlantic Ocean. On February 18, 1965 Gambia gained independence of the British Empire, till October 2, 2013 was a dic of the British Commonwealth of Nations. In 2018 the Republic of the Gambia returned to structure of the British Commonwealth of Nations. The capital is Banjul, the largest city, Serkunda. On December 12, 2015 the President Yahya Jammeh proclaimed Gambia the Islamic Republic. However, on January 29, 2017 his successor at presidential post of Adam Barrow excluded from the official name and adjective, Islamic, having restored the former name, the Republic of the Gambia. The toponym Gambia comes from words in language e Mandinka of Cambra/Kamba meaning the river Gambia. According to E.M. Ospalav, Chadroni Gambia is for the first time mentioned in the European sources in 1455-1456 in writing of Galbia that, apparently, is the European adaptation of the local name. Also the option of origin of a toponym from the name Gamba, pumpkins Gorlianki of a special type, having magic value at the people a seer is possible. This state is located between 13 and 14 C. Highway in the Western Africa, has the form of the strip about 400 km long stretching on both sides the rivers Gambia. Strip width generally varies from 24 to 28 km, in the mouth -45 km. In the east, the north and the south has border with the Republic of Senegal, the total length of border -740 km. From the west the coastline -80 km is washed by the Atlantic Ocean. The area of the country is 11,000 km, from which 10,000 km, 1,000 km are the share of the land on a surface of the water of Gambia. The continental shelf of 4,000 km also belongs and 200-mile exclusive coastal economic zone of 10500 km. All territory of the country doesn't exceed on height of 60 m above sea level. More than 48% of Gambia don't exceed 20 m, at the same time it isn't higher than 10 m of about 30%. Only 4% of the country, the territory from 50 to 60 m above sea level. Depending on remoteness from the river the country can be divided into 3 topographical areas. Lower Valley, 48 km. 39% of the country. The territory which is located directly at the river Gambia and its inflows. It is characterized by alluvial sedimentary educations, boggy soils and strong moistening. The territory of the lower valley is exposed to regular seasonal floodings that promotes formation of seasonal swamps. Headlight, which width reaches 2 km, to the west from the island of Makarti. The crossed sandy plateau, 57% of the country. The territory consists of sandy hills and small valleys. Sandstone Plateau, 4% of the country. East part of the country consists of low stony sandstone hills which generally aren't cultivated and aren't covered with vegetation. The geology of Gambia belongs to rather recent Tertiary and Quaternary periods. The country is a part of the Tertiary continental plateau, which covers 53% of the country along the river, with alluvial deposits of the Quaternary period. Alternations of the dry and damp periods promoted formation of iron ore deposits of a Pleistocene. Formations of the Tertiary period include complexes of an Oligocene, a Miocene and a Pliocene, and are a part of steady continental bark. Consist of sand, sandstone, silt and clay. The age is estimated of 33 million years. Oligocene. Up to 2.5 million years. A late Pliocene. Quaternary deposits. Age 1.6 million years aren't more senior. Consist of 6 educations, belonging to the Holocene and a Pleistocene. Geological complexes of an era of the Holocene generally consist of rough sand and silt along the river, and coastal beach complexes from undivided sand and silt. In East Gambia, Quaternary educations consist of iron ores and gravel. In general, the country is poor in minerals. The large reserves of quartz sand sufficient for glass production are found in Abuko, Brufia Darsilami. The western area. Nabankam and Bakendijk. The area the northern coast. And Caiaphas. The area the lower river. The government looks for investors for development of these fields. On the coast of the ocean, so-called black sand contains ilmenite, rutile and zircon. Reserves of the specified minerals after removal of 1% of a layer of earth are estimated at t. Now foreign investors for further developments are attracted. The volume of renewable water resources of Gambia is estimated at 8.0 km. /year, from which 5.0 km comes to the country through Senegal and Guinea. A surface water gives estimated 3.0 km. In a year, annually updated groundwaters -0.5 km. Annual water consumption makes 30.6 mol/nam. That is 0.38% of total number of renewable water resources. 67% of water are used for needs of agriculture. The total amount of the consumed water increased by 50% from 1982 to 2000. However, average amount of the consumed water on the person decreased from 29 to 23.5 m. Security of the population with clear drinking water makes 62%. The River Gambia plays an important role for transport, irrigations and fisheries. The River Gambia and its inflows occupy 970 km. During a high water -1965 km. 18% of the total area of the country. In the mouth located near the Cape Saint of Marie, width of the river is 16 km, depth -8.1 m. The smallest width of the river in the territory of Gambia, about 2000 am. In Banjul, where the ferry to Bur functions, the bed of the river is narrowed up to 4.8 km. The river is suitable for navigation throughout 225 km upstream.
The first 129 came from Banjul. The river is bordered with the mangrove woods, which are replaced by the abrupt rocks covered with vegetation, then the coast covered with a high grass follow. O River and its numerous inflows are known for the avifauna and also the hippopotamuses living there, crocodiles and baboons.
The climate of Gambia is one of the most favorable in the Western Africa for farming.
The climate is subequatorial with clearly outlined dry
from November to May, and rainy from June to October. A season. Dry wind, which during a dry season blows from the Sahara, is called. Thanks to winters in Gambia soft without any precipitations, prevail sunny days. From November to May, air temperature fluctuates from +21 to +27 C, relative humidity from 30 to 60%. Average temperature in summer months, from +27 to +32 C with higher relative humidity. The rainy season begins in June and comes to an end in October. In general, nighttime temperatures ashore above than in internal areas are observed.
The amount of precipitation in the most part of the country doesn't exceed 1000 mm, and even during the rainy period sunny days prevail.
Despite the small territory, the country is rich with representatives of a plant and animal life. In Gambia, 974 plant species grow.
Very large animals, the giraffes and elephants standing on an extinction side, occur among 117 species of the mammals living in Gambia.
Gambia is the habitat also for hippopotamuses, spotty hyenas, warthogs, baboons and a great number of small mammals, -31 species of bats, 27 species of rodents and others. It is known that from 560 bird species found in Gambia, 220 nest in her territory. The quantity of species of sea and freshwater fishes is 620. From reptiles, 72 views. 4 species of sea turtles, 7 types freshwater skulls, 2 views overland skulls, 17 species of lizards, 3 species of crocodiles and 39 species of snakes live in the country. Also 33 species of amphibia live in Gambia.
The world of insects of Gambia is very different. 78 species of dragonflies and 175 species of butterflies live in the country.
In Gambia, 7 reserves and national parks, which occupy 3.6% of the territory of the country.
The National Wildlife Reserve of Abuko, functioning since 1968, is located near the village of Lamine in 25 km from Banjul.
Abuko Square of 105 hectares, the smallest among reserves of Africa. Despite the small area, Abuko is famous for rich flora and fauna. The Forest Bidzila Park, small, 51 hectares. The wildlife reserve on the coast, open for visit free of charge all the year round.
The animals living in the park, there are several species of monkeys and a set of different types of birds, a little.
National Park of Kion Vest, the wood located on the southern riverbank, Gambia. Among the animals living in the park, antelopes, monkeys and abundance of birds. The area of the park -11000 hectares. The wildlife reserve belongs to the boggy territory of 22000 hectares on the northern coast in the central part of the river Gambia, located opposite to the Kion Vest Park. The National Park of Niumi is located in northwest Gambia and includes also the island of Chinook. The area of the park -50 hectares. The Riverbirds Wildlife Reserve of Tansi is located on the coast in the western Gambia. 612 hectares of the territory include dunes, lagoons, mangrove and other woods in which a great number of birds live. The National Park of the River Gambia, better known as Islands of Baboons, is located in the territory of 580 hectares on river islands near Yanyanbiarak. It is based as the reserve for a chimpanzee. It is closed for visitors. The largest city agglomeration of Gambia is Big Banjul, where the capital of the country Banjul, the largest city of the country of Serkunda, Bakau and a number of smaller cities enter. The large city of Brikama is located in 20 km to the south of the capital. Other cities are located on a watercourse Gambia. They found archaeological artifacts. In burial ground, stone axes, clay crops, iron a spear, copper bracelets are found.
Prove that the first people lived on the coast of the river Gambia about 2000 BB. First known written mention of Gambia, the records of Carthaginian Ganon written after Carthago seafarers visited the river Gambia. In the 3rd century, and the network of a slave trade included the region of the river Gambia.
Late kingdoms indicate radioactivity. Combos, Blue Sal and Fuladu became trade partners of large empires of the Western Africa in Gambia.
In the 5-8 centuries, the most part of the Senegambisky territory was populated with tribes Tuasarakula, whose descendants make about 9% of the population of the country now.
After the Arab conquest of North Africa at the beginning of the 8th century in the territory of the Empire of Ghana, Islam extended. About 750 in Vossa on the northern coast of the river Gambia, a large number of stone columns, the largest of which 2.6 m high, weighs 10 tons, was put.
Stones are similar to marks of burials of kings and leaders in the territory of the Empire of Ghana.
In the 11th century, some Islamic governors were buried in the territory of the country in the same way, and a part of stone circles declared sacred. East Gambia was a part of the big West African Empire which prospered the millennium since 300. Relative political stability was caused by permission of trade and free movement of people through the region. Strong kingdoms were organized from families and clans such as Wolof, Mandinka and Efulb. Yilan. Organizing big social and political educations. Small groups a Mandinka lived in the territory of Gambia in the period of the 12th, 13th centuries, and the Empire of Mandinka in Mali dominated in the region in the 13th, 14th centuries.
The Portuguese seafarers Luís de Cadamosto and Antonio de Uso de Mar were the first Europeans who discovered Gambia in 1455. In 1456 they returned and made a trip to their game upstream of the river and floated by the island which they called St. Andrew's Island in honor of the Catholic saint, the patron of the dead seamen whom they buried on this island.
Further, the island was renamed into the island of Chiames.
The first Portuguese dealers found people of tribes the Mandinka and Wolof in places of their modern accommodation, were assimilated further by local population. In 1587 British began to do business in the region after the Prior of Crete Antonio sold to British exclusive right of trade on the river Gambia.
In 1621, one of dealers, Richard Jobson, described life of cattle farmers Fulb and their relationship with a Mandinka. Between 1651 and 1661, the part of Gambia acquired by Prince Jacob Kettler was under the administration of Kurland. Tolians are located on the island of St. Andrew, which they used as trade base before his capture by British in 1661.
In 1678, the Royal African Company received privilege on trade in the region and founded a fort on the island of Gimes. At the end of 17th, 18th centuries, the British, who strengthened approximately in 30, came up from the mouth of the river in St. James's Fort, and the French, who created a strong point on the northern coast. Albrecht's fort fought for control over the region.
And that and others, mainly the slave trade and potential gold deposits, interested. In 1765, forts and settlements in Gambia passed under control of the British Crown, and for the next 18 years Gambia became a part of the British colony of Senegambia, with the centre in St. Louis. Under the Treaty of Versailles of 1783, France refused claims for territories along the River Gambia in exchange for a part of Senegal. Having kept only the outpost of Obredu, Gambia stopped being the British colony and again passed to the Royal African Company. In 1807, the slave trade was forbidden in all territory of the British Empire, but evacuation of slaves from Gambia didn't stop. In April 1816, the Captain Alexander Grant signed a contract with the leader Combo for an island Banjul concession. He called it St. Maria's Island and founded the settlement Bathurst. It is renamed into Banjul in 1973.
Remoteness of Bathurst from the main centers of a slave trade and lack at Great Britain of accurately expressed economic interests in this region caused rather sluggish nature of the British policy. Therefore, in 1821, the British settlements in Gambia were transferred under management of administration of Sierra Leone, which continued till 1888, excepting the period of 1843-1866 when Gambia had own administration.
By 1829, the first commercial transactions selling peanut were made. In 1851, he already made 72% of all volume of export. Continuous armed conflicts between pagans Tuays and Inca and Muslims Marabutami were obstacles in growth of volumes of trade and agriculture. To create conditions for trade and to reduce the French influence in the region, the British got from local leaders small territories, for example, the conceded mile, on the northern bank of the River of Gambia in 1826 and the land plot on the southern coast in 1840. Also, contracts in which they agreed to the British protectorate were signed with leaders. In 1857, the French transferred to Albredu's British with an exchange of colonial possession. In 1888, Gambia became again separate colony, which borders were defined by the agreement with France of 1889. After 1888, the colony was operated by the governor by means of Executive Council and the Legislative Council. In 1902, the island Maria's Saint was proclaimed Crown Colony while the rest of the country became Protectorate. During World War II, the Army of Gambia battled on the side of troops of allies in Burma, and Bathurst served as a stop for planes of the United States Air Force. During flight on a conference in Casablanca and from her for the night, the United States President Franklin Roosevelt stopped here, having laid the foundation for visits of the American presidents to the countries of the African continent.
After World War II in the country, reforms which were directed to gradual increase in representation of indigenous people in bodies of the colonial power began. The norms which granted the right to vote to adult population of the country and also appointment of ministers Gambians for collaboration with the British officials were entered into constitutions of 1954.
In 1960 in Protectorate the general right to vote was entered, and the Legislative Council was replaced with the House of Representatives consisting of 34 dicks.
In 1962 the Prime Minister's position was founded, and the Prime Minister and 8 ministers began to enter into Executive Council, the Governor as the chairman.
Dauda Diawara, the leader of the Progressive People's Party, PPP, became the first Prime Minister. On October 4, 1963 Gambia received full self-government.
In February 1965 the Constitution of Independent Gambia, which proclaimed the country constitutional monarchy within the British Commonwealth of Nations, came into force. After the referendum on April 23, 1970 Gambia became the Republic. On October 27, 30, 1980 Massachusetts riots, of which organization the authorities accused Libya, which earlier refused to provide the economic help to Gambia, took place. On October 31 in the country there arrived Senegalese troops which helped to suppress disorders, during which about 900 people died.
In the night of July 30, 1981 in the country there was a revolution. Supported by the population, the National Council of Revolutionary Command, English, came to the power. As a part of 3 soldiers and 9 civilians led by 29-year Kukoy Disamba Sanianji, English. All members of the left-wing Marxist Revolutionary Socialist Party of Gambia, which was earlier operating in an underground. The overthrown government was characterized as tribalistic, corrupted and despotic. The purpose of the new power declared economic independence, overcoming social injustice and inequality, overcoming difficulties in provisioning. On radio it was stated that the revolution is directed against an imperialism and neocolonialism. However, already on July 31, after consultations with France, also airborne troops were entered into the country's Senegalese overland. By the outcome on August 2 they completely occupied Banjul. By the evening on August 5 the revolt was suppressed. Kukoy Samba Sanyang with colleagues fled at first to Guinea-Bissau, then were granted a political asylum in Libya. More than 1,000 people died in suppression process. Extensive damage was caused to economy. 35 insurgents in July 1982 were sentenced to death. In February 1982 the agreement with Senegal on creation of Confederation of Senegambia, in which Gambia kept own government, foreign policy and financial independence, came into force. Within Confederation, coordination of foreign policy actions, transport policy and association of armed forces and security forces of 2 countries were provided. Diawara was elected for a new presidential term in May 1982, having received 72.4% of votes. In March 1987 he won elections from 59.2% of voices. 2 opponents. In 1988 it was reported about exposure of new attempt of a coup. Participants received from 9 to 30 years of prison. The investigation announced participation in her of the Senegalese oppositionist Abdoulaye Wade, the president of Senegal in 2012. and same Kukoi Sanyanga.
In 1989, Senegambia's confederation broke up because of requirements of the Gambian side about strengthening of the role and activity of the supreme bodies of confederation.
In the next years, a relationship between Gambia and Senegal remained intense.
In April 1992, Douattara is re-elected from 59% of voices again.
The closest of four opponents, Sheriff Mustafa Diba, received 22%. In March 1992, Douattara accused Libya of delivery of weapon to formation of Sambi Sanyanga, leader of a revolt of 1981 that the Libyan side didn't recognize. The same charges of the relation of Libya and also Burkina Faso, he stated also in 1988.
In 1992, the president announced amnesty for most of members of the Movement for Justice in Moya, involved in events of 1981.
In April 1993, two of leaders of Moya returned from exile and organized political party.
On July 22, 1994, Douattara was overthrown as a result of the bloodless military coup directed by the Lieutenant Yahya Jammeh. The President Douattara was granted asylum on the American warship on which he was during the revolution.
The junta of junior officers and some civilians suspended the constitution, banned any political activity, concluded under house arrest of the senior officers and the acting ministers. The Interim Manager Council of Armed Forces. Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, which promised to restore civilian rule by December 1998, was created. The European Union and the USA suspended supply of aid to the country and insisted on return of the civil mode. In 1995, Sangzi Boli's vice president tried to hold one more revolution for the purpose of overthrow of military regime, but this attempt wasn't crowned with success. Yahya Jammeh, isolated from the developed Western countries in 1994, established the relations with Libya, in 1995, with Taiwan that entailed break in relations with China. Economic agreements with Iran and Cuba were also concluded. On November 23, 2010, Gambia terminated diplomatic agreements with Iran. On a referendum of 1996, about 70% of Gambian voters voted for the new draft constitution. In pursuance of her provisions, Jammeh left armed forces. On September 26, 1996, at presidential elections, only a part of political parties was allowed to participation, in which Yahya Jammeh won from 55.76% of voices. To Hussein Darboe -35.8%, Ahmed Bal -5.8%.
In 2 days after elections, he dismissed the Interim Manager Council of Armed Forces, which he created after finding of the power in 1994, and announced parliamentary elections in 1997, at which the impressive victory was won by party of the president.
The British Commonwealth of Nations called into question honesty and justice carried out in 1996 and 1997 of elections. The official visit to France in February 1998, during which agreements on technical, cultural and scientific cooperation were signed, became the first visit of Jammeh of the developed countries.
In 1999, Jammeh mediated between insurgents to Casamance and the Senegalese government that increased the international authority of the country and promoted delivery to the country of a number of the credits of the African Development Bank, OPEC and Islamic Development Bank.
In October 2001, Jama was re-elected to the president's position from 52.96% of voices, and in October 2006 from 67.3% of voices. To Usain Darboe -26.6%.
On October 2, 2013, Gambia declared the exit from the British Commonwealth of Nations, having called this organization by Institute of Neocolonialism. On December 12, 2015, the president of Gambia, Yahya Jammeh, announced the country the Islamic Republic.
From now on, Gambia, the Islamic State. We will be the Islamic State which will respect the rights of citizens, it is said in the statement of the leader of the country.
In January 2017, Jammeh refused to recognize results of presidential elections on which he was recognized as the loser.
In response to it, the international coalition intruded on January 19, 2017 on the territory of Gambia from Senegal to force Jammeh to execution of result of elections. After that, under pressure from Economic Community of the West African States, ECOWAS, Yahya Jammeh refused claims for a post of the president of Gambia and left the country, having gone to the capital of Guinea city of Conakry. The existing constitution adopted on January 16, 1997 establishes a republican presidential government. The Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, Article. According to Economist Intelligence Unit, the country in 2018 was classified under the Index of Democracy as the hybrid mode. Executive power is concentrated in hands of the President of Gambia, who is a head of state, the governments and the Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces of the country. A.
Article 61.
A citizen of Gambia aged from 30 up to 65 years, living in the territory of the country not less than 5 years, having secondary education and elected the Deputy of National Assembly. 2.
Article 62.
Can become the President. The President of the country is elected on the basis of universal suffrage for a period of 5 years. A. Article 63.
The Constitution fixed a position of the Vice President who replaces the head of state in case of impossibility of execution of the duties by him. The Vice President has to conform to requirements imposed to the head of state, except that he not necessarily has to be elected the deputy.
A. Article 70. The government consists of the President of the country and not less than 15 secretaries, ministers, who are appointed the President and shouldn't be members of National Assembly. A.
Article 71.
Legislature of the country is the National Assembly,
consisting of 48 dicks elected on single-candidate districts and 5 dicks appointed by the President of the country.
A. Article 88. The member of National Assembly, the citizen of Gambia, can be not younger 21 years, not less than 1 year, which is constantly living in the territory of the country knowing English. A. Article 89. Deputies can be recalled on condition of existence of the reasonable reasons and the petition signed not less than 1/3 of voters of the district. A.
Article 92.
At the first meeting of National Assembly, the Speaker. A. Article 93 is elected. The judicial system of Gambia is presented by the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, the High Court, English the High Court, Special Criminal Court, Magistrates' Courts, vessels of the Qadi, District Tribunals. A. Article 120. The Supreme Court, the highest court of the country, consists of the Minister of Justice and at least 4 other judges. A. Article 125.
The High Court consists of the Minister of Justice and at least 7 other judges appointed by the President of Gambia, and considers any civil and criminal claims and also gives official interpretation of the human rights specified in the Constitution of the country.
A. Article 131.
The local governments according to the Constitution are founded on the principle of democratically elected councils with high degree of autonomy.
Geographical boundaries of action of the local governments are defined by Independent Election Commission. A.
Article 192.
The competence of local government includes development of infrastructure of the territory, support of commercial activity, participation of locals in development and management of the area, management and control over area finance, environmental protection, development of Gambian traditions and cultures, etc. 2. Article 193. The country is divided into 48 constituencies which don't perform any administrative functions. Electoral rights allocate all citizens of Gambia who reached 18 years. A. Article 39. The first political party of Gambia, Democratic Party, was founded in 1951 by John Fay. In 1952 the Muslim Party of the Congress, MANT, and the United Party, UP, were organized. In 1958 the People's Progressive Party, PPP, the leader, Dauda K. Rabaduavara, which managed the country before independence finding was created. In 1968 there was a merge of MANT and Scientific Production Enterprise. Then for participation in elections of 1977 the National Liberal Party and the Party of National Convention, PNC, were created.
For 1977-1994 the People's Progressive Party by results of elections took the vast majority of places in Parliament of the country.
27 places in 1977 and 1982, 31 places in 1987, 25 in 1992. The second place on elections was steadily taken by PEC.
Among other parties which were taking part in political life of the country, the People's Party of Gambia,
PPP, the National Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, PLEASE, the People's Democratic Party of Gambia, PDD, and the Movement for Justice in Moya. After the coup in 1994 the ban on political parties which lasted till 1996 was entered, however the ban on some parties, the National Progressive Party, the People's Party of Gambia and Party of National Convention, was removed by Election Commission only in 2001. On January 2, 1997 there took place elections to Assembly on which Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Creation APSI under leadership Yahya Jammeh took 33 places from 45, the United Democratic Party -7 places, the National Party of Reconciliation -2 places, PWIS -1 place, independent candidates -2 places.
At the beginning of 2000, scandal with APSI followed after her Secretary General Fodi Makalo disappeared with the most part of her money.
In the parliamentary elections which took place on January 17, 2002, APSI occupied 45 of 48 places. PWIS took 3 places. The main competitor of the party in power, the United Democratic Party, boycotted elections, and in 33 constituencies from 48 candidates from APSI nobody opposed. The former head of the state of Dawd Kirib Shaver returned from exile in 2002 on condition of non-participation in political parties. The Army of Gambia consists of 800 people. March 2006. His most part serves in 2 infantry battalions. The Navy includes 70 people and 3 boats. 2002. Costs of armed forces in 2003 made 0.5% of GDP or $1 per capita.
In the field of foreign policy, the government of Gambia proclaimed the principle of non-alignment and also development of friendship and cooperation with all countries.
On February 18, 1965, Gambia signed with Senegal contracts on cooperation in defense and safety and on joint foreign policy.
On July 17, 1965, diplomatic relations between Gambia and the US are established.
On September 21, 1965, Gambia is accepted anew. Gambia is also included into the African Union, the non-aligned movement, economic community of the countries of the Western Africa. ECOWAS, the Organization of the Islamic Conference. OIC, the Organization of Development of a River Basin Gambia, the International Organization of the Countries, the Act and others. Gambia is divided into 1 city and 5 districts. Administrative centers. Lower Mansakanko River or Central River Yanyanbiarik. Northern Coast Caravan Top River Bas Santasu Western Area Rikama Banjul The city. They are in turn divided into 37 areas, one of which, Northern Combo, St. Mary's Combo, is a part of agglomeration Big Banjul.
The population of the country makes 2,173,999.
2020.
From which 99% Africans, including
42% a Mandinka, 18% a Fulba, 16% Wolof, 10% a Dial, 9% a Soninka. Also Creoles to Nloska live in the country.
Population density minus 192.4 people on km.
62.6% of the population of the country live in the cities. 2020. In a sexual section, the insignificant prevalence of women. 51%. Over men. 49%. 2020. Is observed. 35. 96% of the population belong to age group up to 14 years. 20.09% from 15 to 24 years. 35.85% from 25 to 54 years. 4.4% from 55 to 64 years, 3.69% minus 65 years and above. 2020. Average life expectancy. 2020. 63.5 years. Man. 68.3 years. Woman. Birth rate minus 27 on 1,000 inhabitants. 2020. Mortality minus 6.7 on 1,000 inhabitants. 2020. Natural increase minus 27.4 on 1,000 inhabitants. 2005. Infantile mortality minus 54. 9 on 1,000 newborns. 2020. Economically active population. 2007. 777,100 people. Every year in the country there arrive 20-30,000 migrants from Senegal, Mali and Guinea, which generally work at harvesting of peanut. Residents of Gambia also easily can leave the territory of the country. That is facilitated by the fact that the frontier is badly marked and in many places isn't protected.
And 2,000 card migrants, including 12,000 refugees, lived in the country.
Islam. Generally Sunni sense. Is practiced by 95.7% of the population, Christianity minus 4.2%, traditional beliefs minus 0.2%. An animalism, fetishism, a cult of ancestors, forces of nature, etc. 2013. Distribution of Islam began in the 12th-13th centuries. At a part of Muslims, the Sufi award Tidzanaya has influence.
The Christianity began to extend from the second half of the 19th century, but Catholic temples existed in the territory of Gambia already at the end of the middle of the 17th century.
There is also small number of adherents of religion of Abakha. English is official. The population talks also in local languages, the main of them. Mandinka. Nigeria Congolese group, family to a Kunt, the western branch, the central sub-branch, group, the western cluster. Minus 453,500 people. 2002. Generally in the western part of the country. Fula.
Nigero-Congolese group, the Atlantic family, northern group, Senegambisky languages, Fula Wolof.
Minus 262,550 people. 2002. Wolof. Nigero-Congolese group, the Atlantic family, northern group, Senegambisky languages. Fula Wolof. Minus card people. 2002. In the western, southern and central parts of the country. Tusaninka. Nigeria Congolese group, family to a Kunt, the western branch, a northwest sub-branch, Soning Bobo. -66175 people. 2002. In the southeast part of the country. Dialphony.
Nigeria Congolese group, the Atlantic family, northern group, a tank, a dial.
-59650 people. 2002. Generally in the western part of the country. Sierra-Sin. Nigeria Congolese group, the Atlantic family, northern group, Senegambese languages, is Sierra. -28360 people. 2002. In the northwest of the country. Nigeria Congolese group, the Atlantic family, northern group, a tank, Mandakupepo. -19250 people. 2002. In the western and northern parts of the country. Maninka. Nigeria Congolese group, family to a Kunt, the western branch, the central sub-branch, group. East cluster. -12600 people. 2004. In east part of the country.
Gambia, economically underdeveloped agrarian state in which 30% of DDD are provided by agriculture, in which about 75% of able-bodied population are engaged.
About 20% more than in the early 90s. The main crop traditionally is the peanut, which is the main source of receiving currency. 40% of cost of export. The industry is poorly developed and presented by the enterprises of small and medium business. The enterprises for production of construction materials, beer and soft drinks, cleaning and processing of peanut work. Domestic industries, a dressing, pottery and others are developed. Services sector gives 3.3% of DDD. Quickly the tourism providing inflow to the country of hard currency develops. The gross national product makes $442 million, $290 per capita. 2005. On PPS -$1.338 billion, $800 per capita. 2007. The main goods made in the country. In a year. Agriculture. 2004. A millet -card tea, peanut -120,500 t, rice paddy -40400 t, corn -36100 t, fruits of an olive palm tree -35000 t, a sorghum -32100 t, vegetables -9000 t, a cassava -7500 t, bean -3200 t. Livestock production and fishery. 2004. Here's -card pieces, goats -card pieces, sheep -card pieces, fishery products -31423 t. Mining. The sand and clay. T. 2004. Used for internal needs of the country. Production. Food for the sum of $6 million. 1995. Textiles, clothes and footwear -$750,000, goods of the woodworking industry -$550,000. Electricity generation. 2004. -$128 million UH. Structure of gross domestic product. 2004. and distribution of labor on the industries. 1993. The total area of the lands used in agriculture minus hard hectares. Hard hectares in 1994. The main crop is peanut, which 75% go for export, and 25% are used within the country. Agriculture provides 25% of TDD and 90% of export. Generally peanut. 50% of farmlands. 8,000,9,000,000 hectares are occupied under peanut, 25% hectares. Under early grades of a millet, 8% hectares. Under rice, corn, late grades of a millet and a sorghum follow further. Production of vegetables and fruit, which play an important role in export of the country in recent years, is also developed. Most farms own no more than 3 hectares of the earth. There is a big dependence on labor and traditional technologies of farming with application of animals. Men are generally engaged at production of peanut, and the women in cultivation of rice, where intensive methods of farming are used. However, recently gender division of labor smooths out. In production of peanut, 23% of women, and are engaged in the top river minus 66% of women.
The history of tourism in Gambia begins with visit of the country by the group of 300 Swedish tourists in 1965, organized by Swede Bertil Harding.
In 1976, the number of the tourists who visited the country reached, in 1998. In 2004, tourism brought to the country income in $59 million. The industry of tourism makes about 16% of TDD and provides jobs. The greatest number of tourists is the share of Great Britain, 41%. The Netherlands, Spain, the Scandinavian countries follow further. 87% of all people arriving in the country are the share of these 4 regions. 70% of tourists visit the country during the period from November to April. Now tourism needs investments for development of hotel infrastructure and carrying out marketing works. Since January 2002 in the country, the Tourism Organization of Gambia, which set a goal to make the country tourist and business center of a world-class, works. Extent of a road network, 2003. Of 3742 km, including 19% of roads with a hard coating. Road and transport means in operation, 2003. Automobile minus 8109, cargo and vans minus 2961. There is an only traffic light installed in 2000. The Tinsveni Bridge through the River Gambia, Senegambia Bridge. The Trans-Gambia the Highway. Opened in January of the 2019 year. The largest port, Banjul. Merchant Marine Fleet, 1998. Minus 5 vessels. 4 passenger and freight, 1 oil tanker. There is 1 international airport in Yunduma. 27 km in the southwest from Banjul. The number of stationary phone numbers, 2005. Minus 44000. 29 on 1,000 people. Cell phones minus 247,500. 163 on 1,000 people. Two providers provide 49,000 internet users. 2004. National currency of Gambia is the dalasi, equal to 100 butats. The dalasi was introduced into circulation in 1971, having replaced Gambian pound at the rate of £1 equals 5 dalasis, that is 1 dalasi equals 0.2 pounds equals 4 shillings. Banknotes 1, 5, 10, 25, 50, 100 dalasis, coins 1, 5, 10, 25, 50 butats and 1 dalasi were introduced into circulation. Money of a new sample was issued in 1998. In 2015, a new series of banknotes is introduced into circulation. 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 and 200 dalasis. On all banknotes of a series, the President Yahya Jammeh is represented.
One of income items of the country is also the release of anniversary and commemorative coins of quality proof.
Export 2017. 72.9 million US, products from peanut, fish, cotton yarn, palm kernels. The main partners in export: Guinea-Bissau -51.9%, Vietnam -14.6%, Senegal -8.8%, Mali -7.2%. 2017. Import 2017. 376.9 million US. Food, miscellaneous goods, fuel, cars and transport equipment. Main partners in import: Côte d'Ivoire 11.5%, Brazil 10.6%, Spain 10.2%, China 7.8%, Russia 6.4%, Netherlands 5.3%, India 5%. 2017.
The international aid listed to Gambia makes $8 million a year.
2004. External debt: $586.8 million US. On December 31, 2017.
Written literature in Gambia began to develop in the late 20s after the British began to publish in the country of the newspaper.
However, there are literary works of the 18th century. Phyllis Wheatley, who had Senegambese origin and was sold in slavery to New England at the age of 7-8 years. Before Gambia found independence, in literature there were no significant works by domestic authors. The first published novel, The Second Round, English The Second Round, was published in 1965 by Lenry Peters. Among Gambian artists who work with a canvas: Mamadou Size, Boubacar Itou Endou, Niagu Tour, Malik Size, Adrissa Job are most known for the drawing or a lithograph. These artists founded a number of art galleries. Fior, the city of Bakau, it is based by Mamadou Size. Gallery in Tudzarinch,
the Southern Federal District de Combo, is founded by Boubacar Itou Endou
and others.
Traditional musical instruments of Gambia are the balafon, bark and a djembe.
In respect of musical traditions, the country is very close to the neighboring Senegal. Grioto, a jet. Traditional singers, a mandinka, are very widespread in the region. The region of Brikami is the homeland of some world-famous performers griots such as Amadou Bansang Tudu Bort and Fode Massa of Suso. They last founded in the 1970th years in New York, Society of Griot, having brought music to a canton vanguard scene of New York in cooperation with Bill LaSalle, Philip Glass and Kronos Quartet. Gambian pop music began with emergence in the 1960th years of the Super Eagles and Guerrilla groups, which were formed as group hip-hop, executing the American, British and Cuban music.
The Super Eagles visited London, where it executed music in style a merengue and other pop genres with use of lyrics of Wolof.
After that, the group was disbanded in 1970 and, again having gathered in 1973, began to execute Afro blues under the name Ifang Bondi. The National Museum of Gambia, founded in 1982 in Banjul, has a big collection of archaeological finds, ethnographic materials and documents of the colonial period, covering the history of the country from a paleo before modern days. The Ethnographic Museum in Kobach is well known for the stone circles, also contains a selection of the objects and documents devoted to country life during the colonial period. Stone circles can also be seen in the museum to Was. The Museum of Slavery in the villages of Ulbreda and Dufurik is located in the patrimonial house of Alex Hawley, the founder of the museum. And the building, built by the British approximately in 1840 and further used by the Lebanese slave trader Morel Friezes.
The Rural Museum Tansi, which kept in original state a situation and life of locals, huts from straw,
according to the styles accepted at various ethnic groups of Gambia, and also traditional crafts, is located in the fishing village of Tansi.
Huts contain exhibitions of traditional handmade articles and furniture, with explanations about their use and value.
There is also a small restaurant offering only traditional local dishes and drinks, and accompanying the work as live local music and speeches of dancers. Holidays. January 1 New Year. February 18 Independence Day of 1. April 24 Day of the Republic. May 1 Labor Day. August 15 Assumption. December 25 Christmas.
Various religious festivals which dates vary of a year are annually held.
Hijra. Islamic New Year.
Birthday of the Prophet, like Monday, Koratek.
End of month Ramadan. And Tabaski. Sacrifice Festival.
The Republic of the Gambia participates in Commonwealth Games since competitions in Edinburgh in 1970, where her representative won the bronze medal in high jumps, which to this day is the only award of Gambia at the Games.
Since 1984 the country participates in the Summer Olympic Games, generally in track and field athletics competitions, but has no Olympic medals in the money box. At the All-Africa Games since 1973, athletes of Gambia won only 2 silver medals. The Football Association of Gambia is created in 1952, since 1968 is the FIFA member. In 2005 the youthful national team up to 17 years won first place in the Championship of Africa, and in 2007 the national team up to 20 years took the 3rd place in the Youth Championship of Africa. On the traditional Cup of Amilcar Cabral, which is carried out among the countries of the Western Africa, the national team played in the final 3 times: 1980, 1985, 2001. And 2 times became the bronze prize winner: 1986, 2003. Big progress is noticed in increase in level of literacy. In 1968, 22% of children attended school. The source isn't specified. 277 days. Training at elementary schools is free, but not obligatory in 6 years last. High schools consist of 2 steps, each of which for 3 years. According to 1996, at elementary schools 70% of children, at high schools -23% of children of the corresponding age studied.
Expenses for education in 1996 made 21.2% of all expenses of the government of the country.
In 1999, expenses for education made 4.8% of VVV. The literacy of the population of 15 years and above in 2003 was 40.1%. Men -47.4%, women -33.1%. Literacy level in 2020 of 50.8%. The higher education of Gambia is presented by the following higher educational institutions.
The University of Gambia is founded in March 1999 by the Act of National Assembly of Gambia to create access to higher education within the country. Training at 4 faculties is conducted:
medicine and healthcare, science and agriculture, humanitarian and social sciences, economy and management. The College of Gambia consists of 4 schools:
educations, agriculture, nurse, business and healthcare.
Also in the country, the Institute of Technical Training of Gambia, JD, offering 2-year courses on training of engineers in the fields of mechanics, electricity, construction and information technologies, and the Institute of Development of Management, MD,
at the President of the country, providing courses on professional development of managers and in parallel performing functions of training.
Research and consulting body function. In Gambia there are hospitals in Banjul and Bansange and also clinic in Kombo St. Mary. Normal sanitary conditions provided only 37% of the population, with clear drinking water -62%. 2000.
About a half of children die aged up to 5 years, generally because of malaria and diarrhea.
Malaria, tuberculosis, trypanosomiosis and schistosomiasis are widespread. In 1999, 260 recorded cases of tuberculosis were the share of 100,000 people. Gambia is characterized by high maternal mortality, -1100 cases of death at the time of delivery or pregnancies on 100,000. 1998. In the country, 1 doctor is the share of inhabitants. Only 105 doctors. 1 hospital bed -1199 inhabitants. Only 1140 beds. 2000. The total costs of healthcare make 6.8% of VVV.
The latest data on immunization of children up to 1 year fall on 1990, 1994 and make.
From tuberculosis -98%, from diphtheria, whooping cough and tetanus -90%, from poliomyelitis -29%, from measles -87%. At the end of 2001, the quantity affected with HIV/AIDS was estimated at 8,400 people, including 1.6% of adult population. Quantity of death from HIV/AIDS -4,000 people. The state broadcasting company Geertz. Gambia Radio and Television Services, Gambian Radio and Television Service. Includes Gambia Television TV channel and Radio Gambia radio station. Private media of Gambia are forced to pay the big state fees on obtaining the license.
In 2002, according to the law on media, the commission with the wide rights, including deprivation of the license and arrest of journalists, was created that entailed criticism about violation of freedom of the press. In 2004, the additions in the legislation on media which introduced criminal liability for journalists for slander and anti-governmental propaganda were made. Neda Hidara, one of critics of these amendments and the editor of the private newspaper The Point, was shot after adoption of law after a while.
In 2006, the organization Reporters Without Borders described a situation with freedom of the press as catastrophic. The state Radio Gambia broadcasts the news controlled by the government, which also repeat private radio stations. The government also controls the only television channel. 15 TZ and 14 personal computers, the number of internet users -25000, 2002. At a share of 1,000 people. Periodicals. Observer is private daily. The Independent is private 2 times a week. Foroa is private 2 times a week. The Point is private 3 times a week.
Television.
Gambia Television is the public, only national channel in on-air broadcasting. Premium TV of the network, a private satellite channel. Radio stations. Radio Gambia is state, broadcasting in English and local languages. Radio 1 FM is private musical. West Coast Radio is private. City Limits Radio is private. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.